Be that I am self-persuaded, the world will respond. It has to, because the little word because implies causation. Because he first loved us. Dwell upon it. Let me tell you a story. You may go out on a limb and tell it. You need not wait until it happens and hope that they will believe you. You can tell it before it takes place if you have faith. A few weeks ago, I told you the stories of a lady who came here with her husband. He is her minister. She took 11 case histories. 9. A change of state is a change of your world. This whole vast world is an infinite response. It's a response to you. You are the operant power. Listen to the words of Scripture. We love because he first loved us. 1 John 4:19. We love because he first loved us. Who is he? Is it something out there? No. God is in man as man's own wonderful human imagination. So, if I want the world to respond, then I must be the operant power. What would I do? I'd make a selection, single out what I want to be this year, 1966. I assume that I am it, persuade myself that I am it now, though not a thing in this world suggests that I am it or could even become it. To the degree that I am self-persuaded, the world will respond. It has to, because the little word because implies causation. Because he first loved us. Dwell upon it. Let me tell you a story. You may go out on a limb and tell it. You need not wait until it happens and hope that they will believe you. You can tell it before it takes place if you have faith. A few weeks ago, I told you the stories of a lady who came here with her husband. He is her minister. She took 11 case histories. 9 had come to pass. She wrote of 11 2 were prophetic in the sense they had not yet been realized. Those of you who were here that night will recall the stories. This is one not yet realized. Your future is in your hands, as based upon that verse in the 21st chapter, the 22nd verse of Matthew. Whatever you ask in prayer you will receive if you have faith. First of all, when you read it, you will think you've been taught by your ministers to pray audibly, get down on your knees and say the words. You go to these churches over the weekend. If you like the ball games as I do, each started with a huge big prayer, 100,000 on the outside, and one man is leading them in prayer. He couldn't possibly begin to believe what I want you to if you were present. How could he possibly lead you in prayer? Prayer is a very individual thing. No two tonight in this room desire the same thing, and he's leading 100,000 in prayer in this audible prayer. You don't do it that way. The word prayer as used in the Bible means motion towards, accession to, nearness at, or in the vicinity of. That's the meaning of the word prayer. So, I have a desire. How am I going to move towards the fulfillment of it? How will I get near? Suppose my desire this night would take me to the east. How would I get near 3,000 miles away? Because I am all imagination. It's easy. Man is all imagination, and God is man and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. Blake annotates to Berkeley, all things are possible to God. Is there something you can't imagine? You may not believe it, but don't tell me you can't imagine it. So now here is the story. In one of my books, I can't recall the title of the book. If you are familiar with my books, you'll know it, but I'm quite sure that the majority here have never read it or heard this story. The lady to whom it happened did not confine me or in any way swear me to secrecy. She's a gracious, wonderful lady, and so I'm going to use her name not to drop names, but to let you know who she is, and that with all of her background, tremendous background, she didn't know how to pray. She's a pillar of the Episcopal Church in New York City, a pillar of the church. Her name is Mrs. Arkell Roosevelt, the daughter-in-law of our late Teddy Roosevelt. She came to me, in fact, she came once a month, at least once a month, for a period of years. She said, "Neville, every year I've rented my townhome, and with that rental paid in advance I've been able to open my country home in Long Island. This year, for the first time in over 20 years, no one has shown any interest. We have the same real estate agent in the same social world that he caters to, but this year the season's slipping by and rentals will be at an end, for it's only for the summer. Not one person has shown any interest in taking my apartment, and unless I rent it, I cannot open my home in Long Island." We have a social position and a political position, but we're not people of means. My husband works for a salary. We are not wealthy Roosevelts. We are Roosevelts, and the name is powerful in the political world and in the social world. The demands on me and my husband are so great because of our name. At the end of the year, we don't know where the next is coming from to give to charity, as is expected of us. We have many children, and like all mothers the world over, all parents, there's always need. And so, they come first. So, there is always need from one or the other of the 5 that we have. So, what must I do? I said, "You've been coming here over the years, now you know about imagination from the past. I'll tell it all over again. If you rented your place today, where would you sleep tonight?" She said, "Where I slept last night." I said, "Where was that?" "In my New York apartment." I said, "No, you rented it. You aren't taking in boarders. You rented the place." "Oh." But she said, "In the past, I always had grace. 3, 4, 5 days to get ready. And then they would come in after I moved." I said, "No, this is an emergency. They rented it, made your payment in advance, and they want to occupy today." She said, "Well, under such circumstances, I wouldn't waste the money by going to a hotel. I would go straight to my home in Long Island, even though it's not ready to receive the family." I said, "That's where you sleep tonight." "Oh," she said, "that isn't practical." I said, "I am not telling you you're going to sleep there physically. You're going to sleep there in your imagination. Your imagination is the real you, Mrs. Roosevelt. I'm looking at a mask. If I could tear it away, I would see God unmasked. But here, I'm looking at a woman who in the world of Caesar is prominent. I'm speaking now to the God in this woman, to your own wonderful human imagination. And in your imagination, you sleep this night in your home in Long Island. To prove that you are there, you must think of this apartment, and you cannot see it under you, around you, and over you. You must see it across the East River in Manhattan, and you must feel the naturalness of your home in Long Island." She said to me, "If this works, I'll call you." 2 days later, she called and said, "It worked. It worked. I slept in it in my imagination, as you told me, and while I was asleep, the phone rang. It was a long-distance call from a party in Boston, and he agreed to take it for the full summer and the rent in advance. I said, "Now from here on in you will do what I tell you to do, won't you?" She said, "From now on I will." That's how she learned how to pray. She said, "I always went to church, gave what I could. I said, 'Our Father' and 'Hail Marys,' but I didn't know how to pray. I said words, lots of words, but now I know how to pray. This is what I mean when I say, the law. This is the law that frees you from all the false concepts that enslave you. If you believe in what I've told you, it will free you. If you do it, you will prove it to be so."